Hello, everybody. Welcome to Srian Envisions Medico-Legal Dialogues. I am Dr. Anil Sangli, consultant neuro and spine surgeon, and this is Sripad, advocate. Today, we'll continue the episode 4 of consent with relation to the Samira Kohli versus Dr. Prabha Manchanda case. Sripad, because consent is a legal permission that allows a doctor to treat the patient. Here, earlier in medicine, the idea was the doctor acts as a in a paternalistic manner. But why is consent called the bedrock of a doctor-patient relation?
See, consent is the legal permission that allows a doctor to treat the patient. Earlier, medicine was often based on the idea that doctor knows best. But with the growth of the modern law, the new trend or the explanation is that doctor explains best and patient decides. So this is the shift from medical paternalism to patient autonomy, which is very important. For example, a doctor may have great skill. A surgery may be very useful, but the patient's body belongs to the patient. Without a valid consent, even a medically useful act can become legally questionable.
True.
So, for example, I'll give a simple thing that we come across in our daily lives. If I give my car for washing, the mechanic cannot repaint it saying it was better for the car. In medicine, the issue is much more serious because it's not a car, it's the human body.
Yeah, it's the human.
Doctor, for a layperson, what exactly happened in the Samira Kohli case? Can you just explain to our viewers?
Well, this is a very interesting case. Samira Kohli was a 44-year-old lady, unmarried, who was admitted for a gynecological procedure. The consent that was mentioned in the procedure was diagnostic and operative laparoscopy, and laparotomy may be needed.
Okay.
I'm telling it verbatim.
Okay.
While she was under general anesthesia, the doctor found that she had endometriosis. That means there is a problem in the uterus and the adnexa with amount of adhesions all around. That was the cause for her excessive amount of menstrual bleeding. The doctor had taken the consent from the mother and he performed not only a diagnostic laparoscopy but also a total abdominal hysterectomy and a bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy. That means removal of the uterus, both the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. The Supreme Court later examined this and found whether consent was done only for diagnostic purposes or also for treatment, that is the therapeutic purposes.
That is surgical.
Yeah, therapeutic is surgical purpose. That is the authorization to remove the uterus and the ovaries. But in ordinary language, if I want to tell you, the patient went in for a procedure which was for a diagnosis to just know what her problem was. But in a way, it was already treated by removal of her organs permanently. That was the case which made it foundational to put in a particular case against the doctor.
Okay, you mentioned about diagnostic laparoscopy. Can you just elaborate on that?
Diagnostic laparoscopy, laparos means abdomen, scopy is to see, that is by using a smoke. Here in diagnostic laparoscopy, a small camera is used that is put inside the abdomen or the pelvic cavity to see what exactly the problem is, just to see. So diagnosis is to find out what the problem is. So in medical terms, the doctor may look for an endometriosis, it may be an adhesions, it may be a cyst or a fibroid, whatever. Just looking inside does not automatically mean the doctor is authorized to operate and remove the organ.
So, you also mentioned about this operative laparoscopy.
Yeah,
Elaborate
operative
on that.
laparoscopy means here the surgeon may do something which is in the form of a surgery and either in the form of a small treatment, removal of the taking a biopsy, removing adhesions, cauterizing some bleeders. These are all very small procedures, but these are having limits. But that does not mean that the doctor can do anything that is found necessary, that is in that particular case, because he found necessary that there was some problem and to remove the treatment was to remove it. He did it, but was it authorized was the main question.
You also mentioned about this word laparotomy. As advocates, we just go and see the case sheets and other things and put the questions across to the doctors who are in the witness box. So, can you just explain to the benefit of our viewers what is laparotomy, specifically because this is related to this Samira Kohli case?
Okay, lapros, as I told you, is abdomen.
Abdomen, yeah.
Otomy is to open. Opening the abdomen by the means of an incision, that is cutting it open, is an approach.
So you're telling laparoscopy is seeing inside the abdomen through the scope. Laparotomy is cutting.
Opening it and seeing inside the abdomen.
Okay.
It's not just the same as removing an organ.
Okay.
It is just to see. Laparotomy is a part of the procedure where you do some other things. You open the abdomen and do a procedure. Open the abdomen and remove the appendix. Open the abdomen, remove the uterus. So it is a part of first part of the procedure where you do a laparotomy and then do a particular procedure whichever is necessary.
Now, you mentioned about one word, that is salpingo-oophorectomy. What is that, and what is abdominal hysterectomy?
Well, these again are medical terms. It was a therapeutic procedure. Abdominal means going through the abdomen. They cut it open, laparotomy, and then remove the uterus, remove both the tubes. Salpinx is a tube, fallopian tubes, and removing the ovaries on either side. Ovaries are the organs which produce hormones to the lady, so to keep up her menstrual cycle. When you remove the ovaries, it causes what is called as a immediate menopause. That means the estrogens and the progesterone that are produced by the hormones which are produced by the ovaries are no longer produced.
So it is a major surgery.
It is a very major surgery and it's a permanent procedure. Okay. Once you remove it, you can't put it back again.
Okay.
So from the Samira Kohli point of view, what was the real grievance? I was not told about the particular surgery. The organs have been removed. I am unmarried. Suppose I want to marry and suppose I want to have a kid. It cannot happen because there has been a permanent procedure. My body is mutilated. That was what she thought.
Okay, from a legal perspective, I think that her grievance was not merely that surgery was performed. Her grievance was, I was not allowed to decide.
Correct.
So she consented to a diagnostic procedure, but she did not consent to permanent removal of her reproductive organs.
Correct.
So from this patient's point of view, this was a violation of the bodily autonomy, her dignity and reproductive choice, which can be generalized to all the patients.
That's exactly what she wanted. My body autonomy is gone. The dignity is gone. And my the reproductive choice, whether, who knows, she would have got married later on and she wanted to have some, or maybe a child later on. That was probably her thought. But something devastating happened that her organs are removed. She can no longer have a child.
So from the legal point of view, I think the injury was not only physical, it was also decisional. That is, it involved the mental aspect of the patient as well. And she lost the right to say yes, no, wait, take second opinion, or choose a conservative treatment. For example,
treatment was done.
If I can give an example, if a patient goes to a dentist and agrees for a tooth examination, the dentist cannot remove 4 teeth without specific permission merely because he thinks it is better, isn't it?
See, sir, the dentist may say there are 4 cavities and he can't even complete the procedure by filling the cavity. He has to take a permission, he has to take a consent.
Yeah. Doctor, continuing this, would this be deeply traumatic?
Of course it is. It is traumatic in the sense, if you have not consented for the procedure and something is done upon you, without your consent it has been done. So, it is definitely traumatic, both physically and
probably it affects our identity, our emotions.
Identity, everything gets
involved. Okay. Now, from the doctor's point of view, could the surgery have been done in good faith?
Of course it was done in good faith. See, as a doctor, what Dr. Prabha Manchanda did was not negligence. What she did was correct in that particular instance because she wanted a diagnostic laparoscopy. She had taken consent for the laparoscopy and laparotomy may be indicated was there. What she saw was endometriosis. What is the treatment for that? Probably because of the extensive nature, she thought the best treatment would be removing the uterus, the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. So she wanted a consent for that. She cannot remove it as it is because she has not taken consent. Being an astute clinician, she let her juniors outside. They went outside the OT, talked to the mother of this patient, and then got a consent from the mother in writing that the ovaries and the tubes, whatever procedure was performed, was authorized. The mother also authorized this procedure.
Mother of the patient.
Mother of the patient. She authorized the procedure. But in spite of that, after Samira Kohli woke up, she found that her organs were removed. She had not consented for that.
But doctor, don't you think that this was done for the patient's benefit?
It was done for the patient's benefit because what the doctor did, he prevented giving us a second anesthesia. The patient was not made to spend again. Another suffering, another operation was avoided. There was a benefit from the first procedure itself as if it was a complete wholesome treatment that has been given, even if it was a diagnostic laparoscopy. So the intention of the doctor important, which is a good intention. But the only problem was the patient's permission was not taken. But he was astute enough to take a consent. He took the consent from the mother of the patient. Was that consent valid is the main question.
Okay, so probably the judgment says that beneficence has a limit. That is, doctors could have a good intention, but the patient's permission is still necessary unless there is a real emergency.
Correct.
Okay. So from
what you said was correct. Had this been an emergency, had this been something where the doctor cannot wait, if he had waited for something or taking a consent, he would have lost the patient.
So life of the patient is very important.
So the life of the patient was in danger. He could not have asked for anybody to take consent. He could have proceeded with the procedure.
Okay. So from a legal perspective, I think if we talk of the good faith, can this good faith be a complete defense? Means no. Because good faith will reduce your moral blame. That is, they have done with good intention to the patient and other things. It may reduce the compensation that might be claimed by the patient for these reasons. But it may also show that the doctor was not malicious in the treatment part. But good faith itself does not create or give consent. This was highlighted by the Honorable Supreme Court in this case, that is Samira Kohli case, and it recognized that the doctor may have acted in good faith, but still the operation went beyond the scope of consent. So the legal phrase for this is benefit is not a substitute for consent.
Correct.
So, if I can differentiate between medical negligence and battery in this context, we normally speak in courts that there was negligence on the part of the doctor or the thing, and we also use the terms battery. So for the benefit of all the people, including the patients and the doctors, negligence usually means doing an authorized act carelessly. That is, it is legally authorized, but it was done without taking too much of care or the normal care that is expected in that particular situation. And battery is another thing, which means unauthorized physical interference with the body. So the question changes. In negligence, the question is, did the doctor do it badly? In consent, the question is, was the doctor allowed to do it at all? So a technically perfect surgery may still be unauthorized legally if the patient has never consented to that surgery.
Correct. Now, this generic consent for diagnostic procedure cover therapeutic surgery?
Generally, no. That is the core of Samira Kohli case.
That's why the doctor was held responsible.
As you explained it explicitly, the consent for one thing could not have been carried over to the other thing, even though the patient had been on the table.
Patient needed that. It was done in good faith. She had a benefit, despite which it is wrong.
Yes. So consent for diagnostic laparoscopy cannot automatically become consent for hysterectomy and removal of ovaries.
Correct.
So the court held that consent for one procedure cannot be stretched to another major procedure unless there is an immediate emergency. So the simple thing is, consent for looking is not consent for removing. The doctor might look
diagnosis is not for removal.
Removal. So and we have certain standards which have been adopted from the United Kingdoms as well as the United States also. The United States approach, especially from cases, we have very famous case like Canterbury versus Spence. It gives strong importance to what a reasonable patient would want to know before deciding.
Correct.
Deciding upon the surgical procedure or a therapeutic procedure. But the UK or the British approach at that time was more doctor-centered, asking whether the disclosure met responsible medical practice. So in the Indian scenario, considering the Samira Kohli case, the Honorable Supreme Court adopted the idea of real and valid consent for India. It's not a duty to explain every remote or imaginary risk. That is known as a real and valid consent.
So what happened in the US and what happened in the UK, they took a combination of those things. In the UK, it is basically doctor-centered. In the USA, it is patient-centered. But here in India, you also have what is called as the Bolam principle, wherein the court considered that. But here, it was not the principle of the procedure which was correct or wrong.
Yes.
It was the whether the procedure that was adopted was done with the proper consent or not, patient was informed or not, or patient gave her okay for the particular procedure.
Consent for it. So it means that it still required disclosure of the nature, the purpose, the benefits, the substantial risks, the alternatives and consequences of refusal.
True.
So for an ordinary viewer, the law does not expect the doctor to frighten the patient with every impossible risk, but the doctor must explain what truly matters for the patient's decision.
So if the patient has to take a decision, they should know, understand, and then give it.
It's the duty of the doctor to explain in the manner in which they understand. So, and coming to the judge's point of view, the Supreme Court's point of view, what was the central question or what was the issue in that case was, can medical convenience override patient autonomy? So, medical convenience and patient autonomy, the court held that that cannot be overridden. That is, patient autonomy cannot be overridden by medical convenience. A doctor cannot perform any additional unauthorized surgery merely because it is convenient, it is economical, it is useful, or it avoids a second operation, as you told in the case of
so even though if it is beneficial for the patient, all the doctors must understand that even if it is beneficial for the patient, even if it is done in good faith,
even if consent is taken by a proxy person,
it is not authorized because the person who is being operated has not consented for that.
Yes.
So you are not supposed to do it.
And the only exception, major exception, is an emergency, life-threatening emergency. Yes. And if delay would endanger life or seriously harm the patient, and it is unreasonable to wait, the doctor can and may act in good faith.
Correct.
But Samira Kohli was not treated as such an immediate life and death emergency. So, doctor, I would like to pose one question to you. How would a surgeon practically apply this in the operation theatre? Because it's very difficult. You have to take immediate decisions. And in certain cases, the patient's relatives might not be present. Or even if they are there, they might have gone outside or something like that. So the practicalities in while operating or while treating a patient.
The surgeon basically should ask about a few questions when he is operating. First of all, whether the consent has been taken or not. And if the consent is taken, what is the explanation that is given, whether the patient has understood the procedure, and was the contingency explained in explicit detail to the relative and the patient, and you also should take a witness. And suppose if it is a true emergency and there is nobody to give a consent, or if somebody is a proxy also, will the delay in treating the particular patient or whatever procedure has been contemplated cause a serious threat to health or a life? So in such a situation, if the answer is no, then the surgeon should stop. He should document it, wake up the patient, talk to the patient, and whenever it is safe to explain it, and then take a fresh consent and then proceed.
Okay, that is both safe medically as well as legally.
Legally and medically.
Yes.
Basically legally.
Yeah. And I think the legal provisions that are applicable in this case is, we had the IPC till date, that is up to 1st of July 2024. And from July 2024, we have got what is known as the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. The earlier sections that were applicable in this case, in this scenario, were under IPC. It was section 88, 89, 90 and 92, which is now replaced by the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita section 26, 27, 28 and 30. So, in order to just give a brief of these sections, under section 26 of the BNS, that is the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, a doctor is protected for an act done in good faith for the patient's benefit if the patient has consented.
Okay.
So, it even gives the illustration of a surgeon performing an operation with consent. That is part of the act itself. And under section 27 of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, a guardian consent applies for children or persons of unsound mind. So, normally we do deal with patients who are okay, who are mentally sound and other things. But what about children or persons of unsound mind? That is covered under section 27. It does not allow a mother to consent for a competent 44-year-old adult daughter as seen in this Samira Kohli case. And coming to section 28, it says that consent is not valid if given under fear or misconception. And section 30, emergency or protection applies where the patient cannot consent and urgent action is needed in good faith. So the formula is consent protects treatment.
Okay.
Good faith supports the doctor. Emergency excuses absence of consent. And convenience does not replace consent. So if you know these four formulas, I think many of the doctors can come out of legal issues, or patients after understanding all the complications that are involved, they need not sue the doctors also. It will be a win-win situation for both the sides.
So we have understood what Samira Kohli case is from 4 different angles. One is from the patient's point of view, that is loss of autonomy. From the doctor's point of view, good faith, beneficence, that does not matter unless you take a proper consent. From the advocate's point of view, that is the scope of the consent.
Yes.
Taking it for diagnostic, doing a procedure which is a operative procedure.
Unauthorized.
And from the judge's point of view, it is an autonomy over convenience.
Yes. So the central lesson is clear. A patient may be unconscious, but the patient's rights are not unconscious. A doctor may act with skill, but skill must remain within the framework of consent. So I think we'll close this with one sentence. Medical skill tells the doctor what can be done, but consent tells the doctor what may be done.
Okay. So thank you viewers for your patient listening, and this is about the Samira Kohli case. And what exactly did Samira Kohli sign? How should the courts read a particular consent form? These are some questions which you can just answer to us in the comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned for further episodes.